Hello everyone, welcome to the Watchalong. As you can see, unfortunately we don't have any data on our screen. It is what it is, but we'll still put it on the screen at the moment, as we still have a feed that we can do a Watchalong from. Welcome to qualifying 2.0, as we are underway, 15 minutes on the clock exactly. And we've got a couple cars setting lap times. So that's good news. Taking wet racing lines as well. Lando Norris is going purple in the middle sector. Not quite in the first sector. The spray is a massive amount. That McLaren, though, with the upgrades on the rear wing, should be pretty quick.
Yeah, no, I think McLaren, Ferrari, and even that Red Bull Max Verstappen could be challenging for pole around here. It's gonna be an interesting one, especially that we have wet running. I think in the race and here, or definitely here, but the race might be wet too. So this could be a very interesting one.
Yeah, it's possible that it will be either just as wet or maybe a little bit less. The weather might start to fade away. The rain might just start to fade away towards the end of the race, but you never know. Everything can change last minute with this weather conditions. We have had a few cars going off here and there. Yellow flags on the circuit in sectors 2 and 3, but then they quickly move away. I think it's just cars moving out the way, but that's going to be difficult because then if people start having to lift because they see a yellow flag, then lots of qualifying laps are going to be affected quite negatively. Hopefully it doesn't affect the show. Ocon in the meantime has gone faster as the track slowly gets worn in a little bit. That Mercedes is sparking as it goes to P4, not able to get any higher. That's Carlos Sainz into P2. So, you know, the wet conditions just really mixing everything up as you see Alonso go P2, and this session is just going to evolve so much as time goes on. That's another car off as they went to the final major corner.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the track should be drying up every lap of the spray being kind of pushed off track. But it seems like a lot of people are struggling into the last real corner of this track. You've seen was that Lance Stroll, and then we've seen we've also seen Lawson and a few drivers going off there. So it seems like the most tricky corner.
Indeed, yeah. Joe did that as well. We've got information from Lando, just as low grip, not too bad to turn 4. Or wait, no, otherwise not too bad, something about turn 4. So maybe turn 4 is horrendous. But they currently sit P7. They've got a lot of work to do. Max Verstappen has got a lot of work to do at the moment. If the situation is looking as it is, Esteban Ocon could get himself nicely into Q1. Obviously, we've got to get to Q3 to really decide that grid for the usual front runners, unless they get knocked out. But Max Verstappen has got to try and get pole position here, because if it's in wet conditions later on, he struggled enough to get past Charles Leclerc in the sprint race yesterday in the dry conditions. So trying to get past another car in the wet conditions, personally I would say it's harder, but then at the same time in Formula 1, sometimes if you have an advantage in wet conditions over other cars, you can actually get some overtakes done quite nicely if another car makes a mistake, and Max Verstappen is the car to not make a mistake in the wet around Brazil. I say that, he actually did a few times, but just about kept it out of the wall. Now, Ocon, I repeat, is currently at top. We've got a lot of cars going around the circuit. They're just going to continue to do lap after lap after lap, as that's how you do it in the wet conditions in Formula 1. A little bit like GT racing. We've got Colapinto coming across the line. It's going to be a P6 for them. They are quite nicely ahead of their teammate, but as I said earlier on, it is all just about evolution. Bottas goes off the circuit at turn 4, so turn 4 must be pretty treacherous.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, right now it's just building confidence for these drivers. Is Bottas on? He's on Inters. I thought they were all on wets. Maybe that's just me.
No,
Yeah,
I
that
think,
Aston Martin is on wets.
yeah, I think what they're trying to do is take the risk on going on Inters, because ultimately the Inter is usually a lot faster. We've got many drivers trying to set laps, as I think the Mercedes was trying their best to do something, almost contact with the Ferrari. I'm not entirely sure who that is. Is it Carlos Sainz, it looks like? who was very close to George Russell. So that was a little bit of a difficult one. Almost the front wing lost in the safety car. That is a big off there for the Ferrari of... Would that be Carlos Sainz as well?
It's very hard to tell. I mean, I assume that's Max, but when you don't got the telemetry, or not telemetry, but the sectors on the bottom, it's quite hard to tell. But with that said, I mean, it looks like Max does not go further up. Interesting.
Interesting indeed. Purple
Perez seems
first
to be
sector for
fine.
Perez though. The track is evolving even further. We've still got 9 minutes on the clock. Sergio Perez is looking to try an absolute masterclass this and get themselves further up the order and really make a statement. It's not going to be top though. They have to end up right behind their old teammate. 1 tenth behind. Sonoda goes and cooks the entire lobby. Wow.
Lobby, making it sound like an F1 game. You love to hear it.
We do.
Nah,
love to hear
but
it.
what a lap from Sonoda and Ocon. Like, I mean, we didn't really talk about, but Ocon did his lap of being P1, and then he improved with like 1.5 tenths. That's probably down to track evolution. There being more grip and more confidence in the car. But this is really shaking things up at the moment.
Yeah, ultimately you've got to get the lap in. We just had Leclerc go ahead of Ocon, but still a long way behind Sonoda. That's going to be a red flag. We're yet to see what's happened. We saw a yellow flag momentarily happen, and that is going to be Colapinto into the barrier at their closest home circuit. What a shame right there. That is going to be turn, I want to say turn 4, but I'm not entirely sure which turn it, no, not turn 4, that's turn 7 or 8 it looks like, potentially, maybe even 10, but that is a big off and not what they're going to be wanting at the one circuit that they wanted to perform at, but I think we will be restarting this session. We've got 8 minutes on the clock.
I gotta say, I'm glad that he's okay. It didn't seem like such a big shunt, but it's a big shame being the closest F1 race to his home circuit, where a lot of Argentinian fans have showed up to watch their hero. But that's a big shame. I mean, that's horrible.
Yeah, I don't know if he's really done much wet weather running at all, so it's kind of expected that he'll have some struggles. He still set a decent lap and was pretty synced up with it all, but a big mistake is actually out of turn 2. So I did not expect that to crash there, but I mean, if you think about it, it's actually quite easily done in a Formula 1 car. Maybe not so much in the Formula 1 game, but in the wet conditions, actually in the Formula 1 game as well, it can be very easy to do. And yeah, it looks like the car's absolutely fine, so luckily for them, they will be able to race later on and maybe make a little bit of a comeback drive, but I would assume that they're going to end up last if track evolution keeps going. That being said, if we're not going to be moving around the circuit anytime soon, once that clock gets restarted, that evolution has to not completely reset, but it will have to go again as the cars will clear the track a little bit weather-wise. So yeah, that's a very interesting situation everyone will be going for. Would that mean that Colapinto would be able to possibly still get into Q2? I don't think so. I think that is their day done. It would mean at least some other cars might have another chance to get out of qualifying out of Q2, because the Williams were looking pretty quick, I think. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. We are going to be under red flag conditions for a little moment as the car gets cleared off the track and then the barrier has to be rebuilt. It doesn't seem to be like a massive barrier rebuild job. It's just that they have to get it on the crane, so that's going to be the biggest problem right there.
No, exactly. I think looking at the contact with the wall, the crash, I mean, that car can easily just be lifted out of there, and then the barrier seemed, I mean, It was damaged, of course, but not as much as you would expect for, a typical red flag. So I think we could go running in earlier than a usual red flag
Yeah,
in that sense.
I think so for sure. We just had a bit of a shot on the screen of the track, and you could see where the racing line was. And it's such a shame because that's all of a sudden kind of going to be just gone by the time we get back out on the track. I mean, we might still see a visible line, but it is going to be just as later on. But yeah, that was pretty cool to see as the cars all follow that same line. There's puddles of water all around, but except from one bit of the circuit. It's interesting that they were using the middle of the circuit, but I guess that's because slightly to the right, at the start of the start-finish straight, there was a big puddle. I'm just looking to see if there's any information on the screen, despite us not actually having any data, but it looks like there isn't, so we're just going to have to wait and see and hope that this session can be restarted as soon as possible. Looking at the situation, Max Verstappen's going to get less time to try and get themselves into Q1, at least it's Q1 and not Q3. Max Verstappen just needs to make sure that they get into Q3 and then hope there's no red flags so they can get the best shot at getting that pole position. So Lewis Hamilton, marry me, that's not me saying that, that is a sign. We are going to be going once again qualifying very, very shortly.
Yeah, no, I'm glad it's a short one. The driver's okay. I mean, it's always, not that fun having to wait, 30 minutes for a repair job on the wall. Like, I mean, what do you do during that time? But I do get it's safety, which always should go first, which in this instance, I'm pretty sure it has gone first. I mean, I haven't seen the barrier, but like we pinpointed before, it didn't seem too damaged.
Interesting that we've got a 2-minute restart. Usually it's that, to be honest, once we get confirmation, but lots of cars are just kind of sat out on track, which is actually maybe a little bit of a misjudgment on their half, or unless they're actually happy that they've gone for that restart or the earlier pit lane exit or pit garage exit. That does actually mean that they get out ahead, which is probably a big benefit. If you can get out further in front, then you have more time on track to take advantage of the track evolution, and by the time you start your first lap, a load of other cars would have done the majority of the circuit already on their out lap. So we'll see. The risk is what you get with maybe traffic later on, but maybe you'll be absolutely fine. We look to have an Alpine is going to be first out on track. Who that will be, I don't know, but Lando Norris is going to be second in that order. Currently sits P10. Not going to be too happy with that one, but as I said, they've got plenty of time, and they are British drivers. I'm sorry to say it, Peanuts, but I'm pretty sure British drivers are good in the wet, and it seems to be that way, at least in history.
Yeah, no, exactly. But quite interesting radio message from McLaren there. Apparently, the rain is picking up. So Colapinto might be okay and make it through to Q2. He won't be able to race, though, in Q2 because they lifted up his car. And in order to be able to race, you have to be able to do the rest of qualifying. You have to be able to make it into pits without any help from I guess the stewards lifting that car up. But interesting developments that it's raining more, it's raining heavier.
Yeah. It's not going to be easy. It looks like we've got Haas having an issue. Is that Oliver Behrman having to pull in, and they're going back into the pit lane? That's an interesting one. I wonder if they're going to go and put on the wet tyres. As you said, the circuit is picking up with wet weather. That could mean that the current grid that we have, with Yuki Tsunoda at the top, would be the grid. I don't know who's out in the drop zone. Everyone is just sat in a car park. But would we see the Haas of Ollie Behrman put on a new set of tyres and maybe put that wet tyre?
I think he's going to wet. So I think they realized, that it's raining more, the Inters, for a lower team is kind of valid in the sense that you have to take risks as a slower car uh, to get up the order. But I think they realize it is picked up a little too much, and it could be hard to, or even harder to come by with grip. I mean, you've seen Valtteri Bottas, who's the only one who is used the Inters at the moment, and I think he was like far off Lewis Hamilton and the rest of the drivers,
Yeah,
um,
indeed.
which makes me believe that there's a chance that Valtteri might qualify P20 if there's no track, um, track improvement out there. But we'll have to wait and see because right now everything is speculation.
Yeah, for sure. And if you look at the delta times with the top time and further behind, I think everybody further behind actually has a long way to go. In improvement, there is a big possibility for quite some significant improvement. A lot of cars have gone out once again on that wet tyre, so yeah, I think it was the Haas doing that. As George Russell did a very nice overtake around the outside of 2 cars, and then made it 3 cars as he switched to the left, and that was almost a big one. I don't think he can complain too much. You're overtaking in the pit lane. In the wet conditions where visibility is limited, they're not going to see you. I think he's very lucky there, and I don't think he can be disappointed with that. So, yeah, he's got to count his lucky stars and keep going. Just carry on, George. Now, we've got a few cars now. Well, I say starting their lap. I don't know if they already started it. But they are going through. Lando Norris, of course, is going to be going quickly. I think it is still that Alpine, though, that will be going first across the line to start this second stint of qualifying. Whether they'll be improving, though, we will find out as we wait to see the sector time from Oscar Piastri to see if they can do anything.
Yeah, there's quite big gap. So even like if the track were to be worse, you could maybe have like a driver outside the top, outside the top, 15, who just like gives it that little extra, being more confident with the conditions and could still improve. So I think, as Piastri just showed, I think there's still time in it on the track for the drivers to find.
Currently looking at being P3 if he was able to set exactly the same second and third sector of Yuki Tsunoda. Obviously, that's a bit difficult. That is Lewis Hamilton going 3 tenths ahead, which is actually very, very impressive. We'll see Piastri, though, complete this lap. We'll go through into the third sector and find out that delta time to see what they can do. Hamilton, again, is going quicker, but we'll see their middle sector time a little bit later on. 4 tenths down on Yuki Tsunoda, still looking to be P2 as they will cross the line. What will their straight line speed be as they go up to the start-finish line? DRS definitely not available, but it is going to be a 1 minute and 30.114, losing a lot of time right there at the end. 9 tenths behind Yuki Tsunoda in the end. Hamilton is looking to go pretty quick.
Yeah, but I think Piastri should be pretty happy with that lap. I mean, the track is clearly a little worse at the moment. The spraying, or the cars clearing the water by just doing more and more laps could make conditions better. But I think he's safe with that. Like, looking at, I mean, people are improving, of course, but not with that big margins as you would expect. Being the last few laps of Q1.
Yeah, I thought Hamilton was going a lot quicker than they were, but maybe I'm thinking of a different delta. So, oh well, but Alex Albon has just gone and launched themselves up into the top 15. We saw Hamilton not really do anything and is still close to the drop zone. Drop zone off the circuit and down the hill is George Russell, who is very lucky to keep that in a straight line, but ended up impeding the Williams. The Williams goes wide, but still, I said earlier, Alex Albon did manage to bump themselves up, so it didn't seem to affect them too much, but it definitely would have been a distraction that they wouldn't have wanted in their vision. So a 1.2 second gap does Albon have to Yuki Tsunoda, 6 tenths away is Charles Leclerc, still looking at more improvements from many drivers. Interesting that the intermediate tyre is faster than the wet in the second half of the middle sector and the third sector, but in the first sector, which is quite a lot of the circuit, it seems to be a lot quicker. That being said, part of that is on a straight, so you know, if you just get a good exit and you're able to carry that speed, then of course you're going to be quicker. Down the straights, we'll see how it goes. Everyone improving, this time by quite a big margin right now. So Yuki Tsunoda's time is most likely going to be contended with. I've completely forgotten any word I was going to say. It's very close between George Russell and is that one of the Aston Martins.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at Lando Norris right now, one of the championship contenders, and he's down in P14. The pressure might be on for him to nail a lap soon.
Yeah, Lando Norris is not in a good position at the moment. We've got Hamilton out in the drop zone once again. We've got Behrman, who was switching tyres earlier, wasn't able to really do anything. They have a lack of experience in the wet conditions, so we don't blame them. Lawson is in the same situation, 16th position, as they just improved, but not enough. Ocon up to P2, once again finding themselves near the top of the timings. We've got Hulkenberg coming through turn 12, and they go once again off the circuit on to the final major corner, and it is just really very difficult to deal with. I think you go slightly off camber maybe, and that's what's affecting things as you go downhill and then uphill immediately. It can be difficult to deal with. Lewis Hamilton deals with it very nicely, but is he going quick? That's the question. It is going to be race control track limits deleted for Max Verstappen. Now, I don't know if that will really affect their position on track, but it's not what you want regardless. We've only got a few minutes left of qualifying. Lewis Hamilton not able to get themselves out of the drop zone, as they've got one more lap, maybe two, but I don't think so. One more lap in this session to try and get themselves out of Q1. They were knocked out of Q2 for sprint qualifying, almost lost out in Q1 for sprint qualifying. Are they going to do that again?
7 tenths on Hulkenberg. Crazy stuff from Lewis Hamilton. That must be a first sector. No, you would think so. Now looking at that, if I was in Lando's shoes, I would be a little scared right now. I don't even know if Verstappen is safe. I mean, looking at the gaps, he should be, but he's P12 at the moment. This could, be very controversial for this championship.
It could indeed. Now, we'll still see wet conditions later on, and maybe that McLaren would just be so quick it would be impossible to compete with, and they'd make a great comeback. Lewis Hamilton once again struggling in the second sector, this time struggling on the exit of turn 10 compared to what we saw before, and he was really struggling turn 9 in sprint qualifying yesterday in the dry. He's all over the place on the throttle, but just about keeps it together. Not entirely sure if they're lifting through the fast left-hander as they come up to the line. Car going into the pit lane, but Lewis Hamilton is going through, and it's going to be a P14 for them. That is not what they're looking for. Colapinto, although probably will get knocked out, is currently still into Q2.
Oh shit, Lando is out now of qualifying unless he can nail this last lap. And he does not look too quick. He's a second down in the first sector. He did improve in the middle sector, but will that be enough? Alex Albon goes up to the top. You have Lawson improving. You got Verstappen improving. Oh, this could be very interesting.
Now, Colapinto's knocked out by Behrman. Norris comes across the line. What's it going to be for the championship contender? P14 only. Lewis Hamilton is at risk, and he is gone. Liam Lawson knocks out the 7-time world champion. Zhou is the only one that can make a difference now, and Lando Norris could be at risk, but I think it's going to stay as it is. Hamilton, Behrman, Colapinto, Hulkenberg and Zhou. This time Hamilton has not had the ability to get into Q2. Verstappen goes and sets the fastest time just for bragging rights there at the end.
Holy, that was very stressful for all McLaren fans. Wanting to see Lando win the championship.
Yeah, that definitely
Um,
was.
but he just scrapes through unless he gets an invalid lap. Um, but that could have been very, very shocking.
Yeah, that's a little bit too close for one of the most dominant cars on the grid right now, so they've got to make sure that that doesn't happen again in Q2. They did enough, but only just enough. I say that 2 tenths ahead of Hamilton in the end, which sounds like not too bad of a gap, but Hamilton is just going to be so disappointed. He is having an absolutely horrible weekend. Still made some good progress, I believe, in the race, but probably not going to be able to drive that McLaren. I think that is already been cancelled, that he wanted to drive. Of course, in tribute of Senna. In the wet conditions, they just don't have the tyres to do so. So that's made a bit of a bad weekend for him, and he's continued to have terrible qualifying runs now twice in one weekend, and that is, yeah, pretty demotivating, but he's still got the race to go later on, and with someone of his skill, he should be able to make a bit of progress in that race despite starting where he is. In theory, he could get an extra position if Max Verstappen completely messed up Q2 and ended up at the back and got that grid penalty, but I don't know. I think it probably is very unlikely to happen, with Max Verstappen not only just being on fire around this circuit, but in the wet conditions just being an absolute master. That was Q1. Q2 is going to be very, very different. The competition, of course, gets closer and closer the further you go up the field, and we get the fastest 15 ready to go again. Q2 for me is very, very entertaining. You don't see anyone really being knocked out in Q3, so Q2 is where it is a bit of crunch time, and you could see a few big names. We did see a big name drop out in Q1, and that was Lewis Hamilton, unfortunately, there. Once again, a Mercedes this season is knocked out of qualifying in the early stages. That's happened quite a few times. Would that be that Mercedes is struggling, or would it be that the grid is just so much more competitive these days?
I think it's probably a mixture of both. I mean, look at that corner. If that is his quickest lap, I mean, geez, yeah, that was a lot of problems. I mean, he just couldn't get the car turned in, and then there seemed to be like no turning on that car. Like that's very weird to even see. I mean, he has been struggling with this car. He has, stated every week. But still, like that was kind of crazy.
Yeah, just left and right lock. They're just not really understanding what's going. Well, I say they're not understanding. They're probably understanding what's going on. They just don't have the ability to keep the car in a comfortable straight line. We'll wait for the next session to start as Q1 is done. Q2 we are waiting for. I don't think we'll get any delays. We shouldn't do. There's been no crash at the end. It was just a nice, good old end to the qualifying session. We just get confirmation that we will be starting in 2 minutes time, and this will be, as I said, very exciting as we're going to find out who will be getting to that final qualifying session to really make a difference.
Exactly.
Sorry, I just had to quickly stop there because I've got something on my throat. I do apologise.
Yeah,
1.5
I
minutes.
didn't know if we were stopping. I was pretty sure we were stopping, but
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. We will quickly go off and we will be back in a bit. Hello everyone, welcome back to qualifying. We're in Q2, believe it or not, although you don't have the data on the screen, it's just what we've got to look at. It's a very beautiful graphic, it's really not. Anyway, 14 minutes on the clock in the 15-minute qualifying session for Q2. I was going to say Alex Albon leads the way, he doesn't, it's just a graphic on the screen at the moment. No one has set a lap, but setting laps first will be the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz, followed by Charles Leclerc. So they both go out pretty early on in this session, which, as I said earlier on, will be important. I think the earlier you can set a lap time, the better. Who's going to top the times? We'll find out in about 13 minutes time, maybe 14 minutes time, just to be safe. Maybe even more if we get another red flag. That is going to be a bit of a question as more cars will continue to push it harder and harder and harder. The track has been worn in slightly, but now it's going to be, not only about wearing in the circuit, it's about pushing the limits to get yourself into that third part of qualifying.
Yeah, no, exactly. The commentators said that the rain has eased off for at least this session. I think it's believed for Q3 that will pick up again. But you have cars like McLaren trying the intermediate, staying in the box for a little longer. Most people are still on wets. But this could be still a very interesting one. I mean, we had Lewis Hamilton out in Q1. And I mean, I just feel like we're gonna have a big name out in Q2. This is probably not gonna happen, but it would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's much more possible for something like that to happen in conditions like this. Sergio Perez seemed to be doing quite well earlier on in the session, so hopefully for him, he can get into Q3. But maybe we would see a big name from a big team being knocked out as well. Would both Mercedes find themselves out of a potential to be in Q3 in the end? Of course, one Mercedes already been being knocked out. We've got both the McLarens, both Ferraris, I should say, setting their laps first as Carlos Sainz goes green, purple, and purple. Of course, he's only the one who has set a final sector. Charles Leclerc went purple in the first sector, has lost that in the meantime, didn't go purple in the middle sector, so looking to not be ahead of their teammate as they go across the line. They do get ahead of their teammate anyway, as they set the new purple last sector. Who got that purple first sector though in the meantime? I don't know if that would be a McLaren or not. Oscar Piastri is just starting his lap. We're waiting for others to cross the line, however, and we'll see Yuki Tsunoda go up to P3. Russell splits the Ferraris.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the Inters look quite good there. I mean, he got pretty good drive through Sector 1, but look at the times. It doesn't seem like it's Inters yet. Stroll goes up to P1.
Indeed. He's been very good in the past. Bottas goes and takes it immediately.
Yeah, well, I mean, oh, wait. It's changing every time. I was just going to say Bottas must have had a stellar lap, but I think it's a lot of confidence and track evolution playing out here right now in Sao Paulo.
Indeed. Perez goes and takes that immediately by 5/10. It will just continue to do so, and everyone will be aware of that. They will not be able to be complacent if they're up the top. They have to keep going. There's no time to relax here. We have had Esteban Ocon set a lap, but 3 seconds off the pace. Yuki Tsunoda actually had a lap time deleted. They were 7 seconds down. Max Verstappen goes purple in the middle sector. Piastri will not be able to beat that, but they go across the line, and they're going to be P3 at the moment. They've got a bit of work to do, but Max Verstappen, it looks like they're definitely strong and maybe really confirming themselves at contention for that pole position as they go and take it by just over 3.5 tenths. So Sergio Perez is actually a lot closer than I thought he would be to his teammate, which is good news for the Red Bull team if they want to try and get maybe a 1-2 to bring them back for this Constructors' Championship Challenge. That would be absolutely awesome for those guys, but still plenty of time. 9 minutes on the clock. We had a red flag last time around with 8 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock. So it could be that we have something similar again as these guys push faster and faster and faster. The times are tumbling in, and that is a new purple sector there for Piastri in the first one.
We have finally reached a crossover where Inter seem to be the optimal tire here. Piastri saying the first purple sector, and I can assume probably will set another one. Oh, that looked like a snap for him. But he's 4/10 up on Verstappen, which does tell me that at the moment it is Inter's conditions.
Yep, the Inters should be absolutely mega compared to that wet condition. If they're faster now, they're only going to get quicker and by a massive amount. Oscar Piastri goes and takes 6/10 off of Verstappen's time, and it's going to be a mad dash into the pit lane for everyone as you see Lando Norris also go and put on a set of the intermediate tyre, which will be trying to put themselves up the order and make sure that they don't get possibly knocked out as they were about to in Q1. Of course, they really need to make sure that they don't make any mistakes. They got the win yesterday, McLaren with the 1-2 in the sprint, but that's only a couple of points difference to P3, P4. You really need to get further up. That's George Russell making a big mistake. That's to turn 12 on the exit of turn 10. They've not turn 12, turn 11. They've just kept it together, but there may have been a bit of a slightly slower lap down there from the racing ball, unfortunately. George Russell spinning.
Overestimating the grip on the Inters. I could say I've done that millions of times. Just spinning in the F1 game, thinking that I'm him, but I'm not. But it's fun to see that the drivers are really trying to extract everything, which they do every week. Meaning that this could get quite spicy at the end here if more drivers do mistakes like that, similar.
Indeed. Piastri's gone and set the fastest lap again, as Peanuts confirms that George Russell is not him. So a bit of a roast there on the live stream. Piastri, 25.179. Both the Red Bulls are on outlaps to try and improve on this intermediate tyre. Russell is now going for an improvement, and so is Tsunoda. We'll see those guys cross the sector lines very shortly, and of course cross the start-finish line. We have passed the 8-minute 50 time that we had the red flag earlier on, but now we will be going into later stages, whereas if we were to have a red flag, then we would be in not a lot of trouble, but we could see maybe the session end early and an unexpected exit. That being said, currently it's not a massive unexpected exit grid if you look at it right now, and we'd kind of be expecting it, except from the fact that Valtteri Bottas once again is absolutely flying in qualifying, and Aston Martin, well, they're up there, which they weren't really expected to, of course, finishing basically last yesterday. That is going to be Lawson making their way up the order. Russell goes to P2 and sits behind Oscar Piastri by still quite a big margin.
Ferrari in the wall.
Ferrari's in the wall. Who is that? Is that Charles Leclerc? It is Carlos Sainz, actually. Carlos Sainz is going to be out of qualifying, and once again, a rear impact. As we saw in Singapore, there is no recovering that car. They might even be out of the race.
That is crazy developments here in Sao Paulo at the moment. Sainz is out of qualifying, and I have to say, I do not think he's going to be able to make it into Q3 with the lap time he's done. He's just on the bubble at the moment, but surely times should improve.
Yeah, I think we're going to get the red flag, but we're going to go once again for the session with the time that we've got. We've got enough. We've got about 5 minutes. They exit turn 1, try and get on the throttle for turn 2, and just bin it. That is easily done in these conditions, but the rear wing is gone, and that is something that really messes you up. They've hit that rear right suspension as well, which would be a little bit worrying for the gearbox at the back of the car. That is not a nice wheel position. It's really not pointing the right way, but Yeah, they've got to hope that their mechanics can get them into the race. I think is it going to be about 4 or 5 hours, maybe even a bit more until the race. So they do have time to do work, but they have to wait until the qualifying session is over to even start that, which is going to be frustrating because of these red flags. You then get less time than you would have. So, yep, Carlos Sainz is going to be out, and it's very much expected to see them gone. If we don't see Carlos Sainz be knocked out of Q2, then we would see Lando Norris, because they're currently behind their former teammate. Everyone dives into the pit lane and now tries to get some fresh tyres on ready for these last few moments, which are going to be so important to get you in the third part of qualifying. We'll go for the grid. Piastri, Russell, Stroll in P3. Then we got Verstappen, Lawson and Perez. We just get a replay of some other cars on the track and see what's going on. Lando Norris, has he got an issue? He did have an issue exactly the same as Carlos, but just not as big.
That car just looks very like it's not moving. Like, I mean, he's driving super slow, but it's just like that car does not seem planted at all.
Yeah, I mean, wet conditions, the balance will be all over the place. It's so tricky to get right. You want to try and rotate the car, I assume, a little bit on the throttle, but also not too much, because yeah, that's what happens for Carlos Sainz. So it's a difficult one.
Yeah, but it's like, but before he like presses the throttle, he's having like snaps. That's an over exaggeration, but it's like as fast as he's like tapping the throttle, like that's not very quick on the throttle input. But it just, that McLaren does not seem too good out there at the moment.
No, not at all. Not also good is Carlos Sainz's car. I will repeat once again, they just had a look at the rear wing. That is completely, I stay completely disconnected from the car. It's being attached by a few wires that is shrouded by the carbon fibre. What are they going to do with it? The stewards obviously need to just try and get everything at the barrier as best as possible. But they might have to end up removing the rear wing or something, which is going to be even more damage to that Ferrari car. The mechanics are probably gritting their teeth in absolute pain as they're hoping that there's no more damage to the car from it being craned. But there is literally nothing they can do. They just have to hope that that car gets back to the pit lane sooner rather than later. But where is that wheel? That is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, it looks a lot worse than what it is, because the cars are, you know, made to absorb impact by kind of getting more destroyed than I guess what a typical car would do in a crash. Like, you absorb the impact by like it kind of breaking apart, like Legos. Good analogy.
Carlos Sainz has crashed his Lego car. Everyone, it's not ideal. They're just getting it launched in the air. I say launched in the air, slowly craned in the air, and now they're moving it off track. They're not lifting it too much higher than they need to because of the loose parts on the car. They haven't fixed the barrier. They've only just got the car removed, but still, Williams have decided to leave, and we've got confirmation that we will be starting in 3 minutes. So that's an interesting one. They seem to be confident that they can get going very soon, does the FIA, which kind of makes sense, I guess, if they're happy with that barrier. I mean, it wasn't a massively hard hit again. It's just a very awkward angle that saw the rear wheel completely fall off, or not fall off, but detach from its usual position. But 2 minutes on the clock. We'll be going again. 5 minutes is going to be not much time at all, but everyone can do multiple laps in these interconditions. Peanuts, who's going to get knocked out?
I mean, at the moment, wait. Okay, so we just got confirmation from Red Bull that the conditions are going to improve. So I would say nobody's safe at the moment. but Sainz seems to be, a big name out, and I think, um, I mean, we're getting a big name no matter what, because Lando is not in the top 10, and if he does, get into the top 10, then Sainz is out. But I gotta say, I hate saying this, but I think Lando might be out in.
Yeah, I was gonna say they've not had the best session so far, so maybe it's not going to be looking good for the British driver. He's just got to pray that he can get a clean lap in. Once again, the Sauber is just angled in the pit lane as they're trying to get in the queue, but just not quite in a straight line. That is Carlos Sainz making his way back to his garage in a very awkward fashion. He's not going to be happy to see his mechanics. They seem to be all good. He is safe, although that being said, we don't actually know what's being said. I think he's just explaining to the mechanics what happened when he lost the car. But it's not going to matter now. He is out. 30 seconds on the clock until we once again go qualifying for the final time, hopefully, in Q2. We still haven't made it to Q3 just yet. We're almost already an hour into this session with the 2 red flags we've had so far. That was from Colapinto in Q1, and that is from Carlos Sainz in Q2. I was kind of not intentionally jinxing it for Carlos Sainz, but I was expecting a red flag to come out, and we got one. We will be getting the green flag, though, right now, and it's going to be Lando Norris out on track first.
Yeah, no, I think that's a pretty good call from McLaren. I mean, he's clearly been struggling, so he needs to gain up that confidence. And how do you do that? By doing a lot of laps. I gotta say, it's quite sad seeing last week's race winner out in Q, or for most likely out in Q2 due to having, such a wimpy spin, if I have to be honest. I mean, there's nothing he could do, but it felt like it happened so slow.
Yeah, it's the way the rain goes, unfortunately. But I don't know. It's a big hit. We might not even see them in the race. If we don't see them in the race, they might have to start in the pit lane if they need some changes to the car. We'll have to see how that one goes. But yeah, that second Ferrari is not going to be in a good position. He's just got to try and forget what just happened and lock in for the race, and we'll see them later on, hopefully on the grid, whether that will be from the pit lane or in their grid spot, whether that'll be P15 or P10. We will find out soon. 4 minutes on the clock now, 4.5 minutes on the clock. Few cars racing for position in qualifying as they all try to get ahead so they can get as much laps in as they can, and then we'll get to Sector 3 and all the traffic is going to bunch up. As I said yesterday, this is a circuit that really struggles for bunching up on the grid, and this is where we're going to see it. I think Q2 is going to be where it all matters. Lando Norris starts their first lap. It looks a lot tidier in the first 3 corners so far for them as they go down the first straight, apart from the start-finish straight, into the second sector, and we'll see what they can do. Currently improving by almost 2.5 tenths.
Yeah, no, he's improving, but if you look at the gaps to the lead, I mean, he would probably be wanting improving more than that. But now he is a second up, 1.3 up on his quickest lap, so maybe he can still pull something out of the hatch today and make it through to Q3. Yeah, sure. This should put him P2. Looking at the timing streak, but Sonoda is doing around the same lap time as Lando there. That is crazy stuff. Fernando Alonso said a very good lap and has beaten everybody by over a second in this qualifying so far, if we don't count with Piastri's lap before the red flag. And pressure is put on Verstappen at the moment, being in P12. And both Red Bulls seem to be out. Verstappen is not improving at the moment. This could be very exciting here. Red flag! Red flag! Verstappen is out! They will be starting at the moment P17 with their 5 dropped grid penalty. What am I witnessing at the moment right now? Nobody could have predicted this. The championship might be on. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, but being, as dominant as Max has been for so long, I mean, that's the only way catching out such a amazingly talented driver. And I mean, it has to happen sometime, you would think. Yeah, no, I think if you would have told me that Max Verstappen would be out in Q2, uh, around Sao Paulo in the wet, I would not believe you. It is insane to even consider that with the form he has, how good he is, and I mean now for real, the champ if the championship wasn't on before, now it could be on if Lando Norris does seize this opportunity.
Hello everyone, we're back. Sorry for earlier on with the mic technical difficulties. It wasn't really a difficulty, it was just a brain fart, but oh well. We are now back again. We are waiting for qualifying to restart. In about 10 seconds time, we will be able to give you the information of who will be going out first. I mean, we can already see who that will be, but I've actually forgotten who it was. So we'll try and get the picture and then let you know, as we of course don't have any timing data on our screen. But let's see, who's it going to be out first, as they're all lined up in the pit lane. I thought it was an Alpine. I think this is the Alpine that is going to be going first, unless someone else is out just up ahead. No, it is going to be the Alpine.
Yeah, no, I mean, after this has been a really interesting qualifying of who has been out. We've had a few big names. Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, and Sainz have been out and has not made through to Q3. Max Verstappen will be starting P17 thanks to a 5-drop grid penalty for taking a new engine component. But now we're talking here about Q3, which could be an interesting one also. I mean, you got like a lot of interesting names in there, like Ocon, who has had a pretty bad run of form lately. Stroll, who's, been strolling it. Alonso up in the grid. Lawson, who has never done wet running in a Formula 1 car, but is doing amazingly at the moment.
Yeah.
So this could be a very exciting one.
I mean, both racing balls are doing great. I would say Yuki Tsunoda is doing an awesome job, but then to see the kind of, not rookie teammate, but inexperienced teammate also be there is very, very impressive. This time, we've had Ocon beat his teammate into Q3. So Gasly with the great form. Unfortunately, it didn't go long enough, and Ocon will get ahead, who is going to be setting the first lap time, and will provisionally get that glory of being on top, of course. So we'll see how that one goes, unless they have a major issue. Hopefully they don't, but I've had a few commentator curse moments this weekend, so I will stop talking and just let things go on. 10 minutes left on the clock. Alex Albon goes purple in the first sector to beat Ocon's current time. That Williams seems to be quick, but just not quicker than the McLaren, who then goes and beats that with Oscar Piastri. Lando Norris will be on his way to try and do something as well very soon. As he goes across the sector line, he doesn't beat his teammates first sector, so only green there for Lando Norris. As long as they get further up the field, that would be great. Of course, as the two McLaren should be working together in São Paulo this weekend for the championship purposes. Alonso, I say that hasn't set a lap time, so I'm going to completely ignore it, but Ocon will be setting the lap.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, this will, no matter what, be an interesting qualifying. I mean, it's already been very exciting. Like, when do you ever see Max out in Q2? It does not happen, so that has happened is crazy. Ocon is P1 at the moment, the only driver who has set a lap. But I think he can be quite high up here. I mean, he seemed like throughout qualifying being, best of the rest. Even out qualifying a McLaren, the Red Bulls and Sainz. I mean, I know it's interesting circumstances, but still. The drier the track gets, the quicker the top teams should be, because Will Buxton said yesterday that McLaren, or the top 4 teams, McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull are using like medium downforced wings, while all the other teams actually are using higher downforce, which helps you a lot in the wet with doing turns. Does hurt you in the straights, but should be better in these conditions.
Yeah, for sure, and we'll see if they can benefit from that. But it does seem that the track looks a little bit drier compared to earlier on. We had George Russell, who was wrestling the car just a moment ago, then does go P2 anyway, very close to the back of Lando Norris, who beat his teammate. Ocon has gone and beaten that immediately, as the circuit really is getting a lot drier now, and everyone is going faster. From the back of the car, it looks like it's not really that dry, but from the onboard, it seemed to me like it was quite a dry line. Piastri goes and takes that by 4/10 ahead of Esteban Ocon.
That's a good lap from Piastri, but Albon does a little better. And 5/10 up, Lando Norris, jeez. He has really been awakened in the intermediate.
Kicked himself into gear after his almost exit in Q1. We had Alex Albon go off the circuit, so somehow setting that fast lap. We're going to get Alonso into the wall. Where will that be on the circuit? What a shame. The second Aston Martin will be in the wall, and that will be P9, P10 for Aston in Q3. We should be able to get this session restarted once again. That's on the exit of turn 11, and yeah, and again, another easy place to crash in the wet around Brazil. Anywhere is possible to crash ultimately on the circuit, ideally not on a straight, because otherwise you're going to look like a bit of a I don't know. Anyway, yeah, Alonso is completely finished in that wall. That is absolutely devastating there for Aston Martin, who seem to be on a bit of an up, getting their cars into the third part of qualifying compared to yesterday when they were dead last. But no, it's not going to work out. And now, the only Aston Martin that will be driving around the circuit is going to be the Doctor car. But I think they're maybe not going to need that car, because Alonso seems to be pretty happy. I say that pretty well. He's not happy though. He stormed off. Now we're going to get everyone back to the pit lane. This time it looks like the barrier is a little bit more damaged, and we might have a bit more time out of the green flag qualifying.
I mean, what a weird place to crash. I mean, you look at the car and it's like placed straight towards the barrier. Like, I mean, I would like to see a replay of that, because I think it could be a quite, interesting, kind of crash. Because he must have lost the back end, you would think.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
what corner is that?
It's so turn 11. It looks like it's where the barrier looked to be damaged, but the right hand side of the car didn't look to be so bad. So they go through turn 12. They get the oversteer. They do a 360, and they do hit the right hand side, and then end up facing that barrier. So yeah, that's a difficult one there. Alonso's not going to be happy with such a good session so far. Right hand side impact, and then just facing the barrier once the car becomes stationary. Easily done though.
Yeah, I mean, these wet conditions are difficult. I know that it's a lot more difficult in real life, but from my experience on the F1 game, there's a lot of times where it's just like, it's so easy being, a little too fall happy, and then just losing the back end on pretty much flat out corners like that one. So, I mean, it's difficult out there.
It is for sure. It is for sure. I just want to quickly apologise if there are any lag issues on the live stream. Unfortunately, there's not really much I can do about it now, so we just have to hope that it's all good. I think it's perfectly fine, and there is nothing to see on our screen, so as long as our audio is okay, then we should be happy to go. But yeah, that's a difficult one, and once again we get a red flag in qualifying. Is that the fourth red flag now in 3 sessions, and we've still got 7 minutes really to go again in this session. So this Brazilian Grand Prix weekend was going to be exciting because it's at São Paulo, but it's now going to be even more crazy. We'll see how this one goes. We've got a lot of people trying to get that car sorted, and they're moving it once again with the crane, and then they will rebuild that barrier. But they've got a bit of distance to travel actually with that car.
I wonder if this is going to give an opportunity for the rain to kind of build up and start raining more, and this might be our grid.
It could be. It could
that would be kind of interesting.
That would be absolutely incredible to see Alex Albon starting on the front row of the grid. Ultimately, for McLaren, it would be not bad at all, because they're still up there. For Lawson and Tsunoda, I would want to say that they'd be disappointed, but they're still up in a good position. Leclerc's not going to be happy. Russell's not going to be happy. Ocon's going to be very happy. So currently, if that was the case, then I think a few people would be quite happy with their positions, of course. But we'll see if we can get some more time in the session and maybe have a bit of a better track to run on, then we might be all right. But yeah, there's nothing we can do about it now. We just have to wait for the race, or sorry, qualifying session to be underway. I say race, I'm just so excited to get that race going. I really want to see it happen, but we haven't even decided the grid for the top 10 just yet, so we'll see how it goes. But we're still probably going to be spending a fair bit of time under red flag conditions for now. The car is just getting slowly moved off the circuit. I'm interested to see that they've actually gone that direction to take the car off the circuit instead of turning around and going off into the runoff, but I guess they wanted to go here, so they've done it now. They are rebuilding that barrier. It doesn't look like the easiest of jobs, especially in wet conditions. It should be would be pretty grim. I assume they're not going to bother with any sponsor boards. It's just going to be a barrier rebuilt and then a restart.
Yeah, no, I mean, you could see a guy on stream or on the broadcast just kicking the wall, which was kind of funny. But that wall should be hopefully fine, so we can get running soon. I mean, compared to the other crashes or red flags, I mean, I would say it's still a little more damage, but like minimal. Like there's not a lot more damage than the other instances we have seen throughout this qualifying here at Sao Paulo, but I think we should be able to get started somewhat soon.
Yeah, hopefully soon. They're kind of made good progress on that barrier, and as I said, 7 minutes on the clock is actually plenty of time. Like it's a decent amount of time. You'd get 2-3 laps in, I would assume, with a bit of a prep lap to start, maybe even 4 if you really push for it, but I'm going to say probably not. 3 laps would be good. Is the Inter going to be the tyre to go for? I think it will be. I think we're going to be in very similar conditions, but it just might take a little bit of time to get worn back into the circuit. So that will be interesting. As we said, for the grid, of course, it could, in theory, be the grids that we've got right now, which would be Lando Norris, Alex Albon, Oscar Piastri, Esteban Ocon, Russell, Leclerc, Tsunoda, Lawson, Alonso, and Stroll.
I mean, if this were to be the grid, this would be ideal for Lando Norris, because you got like a slower car in P2, which means even if Albon gets through, he should, be able to overtake him in a few laps. And also, that being a slower car means that Lando might even be able to keep that position, and then Albon might be able to slow down Piastri and, the other contenders, which could, challenge for the win there today. So I think Lando is doing the rain dance at the moment.
He probably is so. I just want to quickly double check something with the data, so I do apologize. I'm going to be slightly distracted here, so hopefully we can get everything back on the screen. I'm going to quickly do this, and then we'll be good to go again. But yeah, as we just wait for that restart, maybe we can get going again for the data session, which would be great, because it looks like people are not very happy that this data isn't on the screen, and they've run away. If we can get some more, then we might be able to see a few more people on the live stream. And if I'm correct in saying, it might be alright. No, it's not. It's not. It's very annoyingly still broken. So yeah, that data just looks like it's just going to have to go for now. That being said, if I go here, maybe we'll have a better chance. No, I think it's still just going to be completely dead. I don't know why. It seems to be broken. I've seen other people's data be absolutely fine. it's just what we've got for now, and there's nothing we can do about it. I'm going to quickly fix that once again, and then we'll have a quick look at the feed, see what the session's going to be doing. 2 minutes, we'll be going racing once again.
Yeah, no, I mean this better be an exciting one. I mean the track does seem like it might have dried up a little bit. I mean it doesn't look like it's raining anymore. So times should be improving. So I would say nobody's safe in the position they're in at the moment. But it's F1. They can, they can get like a hurricane, happen right this millisecond, and then like in 1 minute or so, the track could look fully drenched. So I mean, anything could happen, but for the moment, it does look like the track should be more clear. I wonder, is somebody going to think about slicks?
Maybe. Maybe. It would be very, very interesting if they could do that, and it would probably be a guaranteed pole position if they made that work. But I don't know. I think it's quite a risk to go for. So yeah, I think we can wish for it, but I don't think anything's going to happen. Once again, I do apologise for the software and the data not working.
If it was a full session, I would say that there could be slick running at the end. Looking at this track, it looks. I mean, it could just be the broadcasting, but it looks wet. But if you have somebody or some people doing a few laps, you could clear a line. But it's a little too wet for that.
Yeah, it will take time to dry for sure. Usually in the past, it's in when people do go onto slicks, it's usually quite a way after the inters have been run on and after it's stopped raining. It does look like it has, of course, stopped, and that would mean that the more laps you do in the session, the better you're going to be. The later on you can complete that lap as well, the faster you're probably going to be able to go. And it is anyone's pole position right now here in Brazil. We've got 2 cars out of the session. It's only going to be 8 on the grid, and that could actually be very good for many people because it's less traffic to deal with, of course. But we'll see how that one goes. We've had I've already forgotten who was out on track first. It was the Mercedes of George Russell, who's looking to try and get a quick lap time.
Then comes the McLaren of Lando Norris. I think being out first is a good idea because then you're able to get in more laps and you also minimize the risk of a red flag coming out, which caught Red Bull out in Q2.
Yeah, that's what you got to do if you want to try and get the best chance of getting that final lap in during qualifying, of course, and they're doing everything they can to make that happen. We've got Charles Leclerc, who is the only Ferrari on the grid at the moment. They're trying to make everything work for the constructors, of course, but also their drivers' chances could be up for grabs here. Just imagine if they were able to get pole position and then take the win of the Grand Prix. That was something going over the circuit. Oh, Big Bird was just flying in front of George Russell's car, but nothing really to worry about in the end. George Russell starts their first lap of the final stint of qualifying.
Yeah, when you say that, I think about Singapore when Max Verstappen was face-to-face with Godzilla. That was a big, or not really big, but that was a mistake from Russell. He almost lost the car.
Big mistake right there in the first complex of corners. Down to turn 4. They're going to try and recover it. What will the sector line be? It will be a bad sector. They're going to have to just try and use this as a prep lap as they go off at turn 4. I think they're trying to explore the grip. This is what's going to be happening here. We're going to see the circuit dry up. Everyone's going to try and push the limits a little bit further. And yeah, we're probably going to see quite a few cars off at various places. The advantage that Russell has is that he's got a big gap to the car behind, so he doesn't need to worry about Lando Norris, and he's also got a lot of clean air up ahead, so he can just relax and then maybe go again. That being said, if he relaxes too much, Lando Norris is going to be right behind him, and then they're both going to mess each other up. So George Russell has to try and push. That being said, if he didn't actually push too much and allowed Lando to be right behind him, and then Lando would be struggling for clean air, then that would help him out. But no, they're just going to continue on their merry way and see what they can do. Lando Norris also not improving.
He's 4 tenths off. If I dare to say it, he's probably not improving. Yeah, you can see he's had a little problem there. It seems like Yuki Tsunoda's just parked in the middle of the track. Yeah, he got out of the way now. But you have to think that now, just remove the spray. He is the second behind, so there could be, lap improvement from everybody. But Leclerc has a big drift out of turn 11.
That was
and then there's another yellow tag. Alex Albon is off.
Alex Albon off.
Oh,
and that is a big crash once again. Rear suspension for Alex Albon as he had in Mexico. That could be qualifying done. Will that be the session finished? And will Alex Albon start on the front row of the grid? It's not the way he wanted to end qualifying, with a massive crash, because that is not only going to see your qualifying done, but quite possibly no chance of being in the race. Sunday qualifying really does make it very risky for your chances later on, and Williams are going to have such a big job to do. They've not only got to repair Colapinto's car, but also Alex Albon, and he is absolutely furious with himself right there. That is not what you need to be doing. Front suspension, rear suspension, completely gone. Another big wreck for the team that really doesn't need it. So much crash damage this season so far, and now they're not in any better position. He is really angry right there.
Yeah, no, I mean, his anger is valid. Crashing out and doing that much damage after being P2. Williams' best result in years, placement-wise, in qualifying. Oh, the disappointment is immeasurable.
It is for sure.
But that's a lot more damage. And I'm looking at the time right now, and I gotta say there is time to do one last or two last laps for some drivers. But I mean, there's quite a lot of damage there.
That's an interesting crash on the entry of turn 1, where they DNF'd last year, actually, at the start of the race. A very strange one. They've broke on the slippery green patch. Whether they did that intentionally, I don't know. But if they did it intentionally or not, they have damaged their car so significantly that I think they would probably end up being not able to start this race, or starting from the pit lane. Alex Albon has absolutely demolished that car from every angle except from the front right. Yeah, that's a big one. I think looking at the situation with confirmation, we are going to be going again, so the session will restart. The benefit for Williams is that kind of time that we have to restart, it means that everyone is going to be rushing out very close together, and they're not really going to be able to utilize any track evolution. So regarding qualifying position, and if it was Saturday, then sure, Williams are in a good position, but because it's Sunday, I think that is probably worst case scenario right there, and we're not going to see Alex Albon start this Grand Prix.
I mean, I think I've seen miracles happen in my years of watching this sport. I think they can get both cars maybe out there, just maybe, but if they do, Albon is definitely going to start in the pit lane.
Also, something to look at, I don't know what the tyre rules will be for wet tyres, but they've just lost a set of inters, potentially, unless they have to chuck them back because it's Q3, so maybe I'm absolutely chatting, so don't worry about that. But yeah, we'll see. George Russell had an off during his lap time as we restarted that session. He was having a big problem. of course, and that is Lando Norris. Also, no,
That's
Oscar
Oscar.
Piastri spinning the car at turn 2 to 3. They're very lucky to be in a straight line.
Yeah, I gotta say that it's... Oh. That must be Sonoda.
It was.
Jeez, yeah, no, I mean, these drivers are giving it all out there on a track which does not, clearly doesn't have as much grip as it had during the beginning of this qualifying, which is probably down to the car is not clearing as much water and the track, conditions getting worse by that. But I gotta say, nobody's safe from the barrier today.
Yeah, nobody is safe in the barrier. It's like a magnet. It's just pulling everyone towards it. And, yeah, it does mean that we have a lot of stoppages. That is the... I've lost count now. Is that 5 red flags we've had in qualifying now? To make this a very dramatic one for sure. Someone's backpack is being used to pick up all the debris.
We have 0 wheel-to-wheel racing, but this has been a blinder so far. Like, I mean, everything seems to happen all the time. Like, you give 5 minutes of, kind of it calming down, and it's like you see another car in the barrier.
Indeed, yeah. It's a tough one. It is a tough one, but it is drama, and I don't know. As a Brazilian fan, does it make it worth being in the rain for this qualifying session, seeing everything happen that we're seeing right now? Maybe, just maybe. 3.5 minutes on the clock, and we are waiting to try and go out one more time if we can do so. I think it's going to be very, very possible. If it wasn't possible, then we would have got that confirmation that the red flag would be the final installment of qualifying, but we will go for that restart, and it is going to be incredibly exciting who will be able to take pole position. We're not going to be going for the restart for a minute or two. However, they've still got to try and get all that debris, carbon fiber off the circuit, as it is very, very messy. They don't want to leave anything that they don't need to leave on the circuit at the runoff, because if another car was to follow on, then they would be in trouble. They seem to have rebuilt the barrier quite well though, but they're trying to get some debris off the top of the barrier, it seems.
I just see this being a meme. These two guys are on, like, what is it?
Quad bike.
A 4-wheeler. Yeah, quad bike. And I mean, they looked a little lost, if I have to be honest. Out of the place.
Yeah.
People are driving out of the pits now. It seems like the Alpines are the first ones out.
Yep. So we will be going in about 4 minutes, 3 minutes time, and the Alpine of Esteban Ocon will be looking to try and set the lap first once again. They haven't gone over the pit exit line, right? I'm pretty sure that, yeah, they haven't. I was a bit worried there that they're going to end up getting a penalty. But everybody's starting to line up. We would have then Lando Norris, then Oscar Piastri, and then it would be Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. 3 minutes until qualifying will restart. We've still got many cars just waiting in the pit lane. They're not actually on their way out just yet. That's an interesting call from a few cars. They're waiting for the final stages. I think maybe they're saying, okay, you know what? If there's a red flag, there's a red flag. It's not going to affect us. We might as well just wait until the last little moment so we can make use of any track evolution from any other cars doing laps before. Maybe that's what they're looking at. But if Esteban Ocon can get 2 laps done in their session instead, then they would just have a massive advantage. Do you think we'll get 2 laps in?
Wait. Okay. So Lando Norris's engineer just said that the rain might start picking up very soon. Can you ask the question one more time?
Who do you think will be able to get 2 runs in this session?
I think 2 runs is very possible. I mean, at least the front guys, because if you think about it, it's like, what was it, 3 points? seconds, or 3 minutes and 30 seconds, which, I mean, is quite long. I mean, you have to do an out lap, and then you have to do a lap around, and then the last lap you could start before that timer. So I think the front runners, or not front runners, but the runners who are long or further forward in the line should be able to do 2 laps. But I think Leclerc might be the last one able to do a lap, looking at this.
Yeah, I think the front runners, they'd have about just over 30 seconds to do, not an outlap, but to do a longer outlap. 30 seconds to spare, and then they would have to... No, I don't know, actually, I'm just completely waffling there. Never mind, Esteban Ocon is going to have the best chance regardless of doing such a thing. The Mercedes still doesn't show signs of coming out of the pit lane just yet, but maybe we'll see them out of the pit lane shortly. Hopefully we do, so we can get all cars getting one more lap in this session. But the weather is not looking ideal, and I don't know if we're really going to see too much of a change at all. 30 seconds less, we will be going once again green flagged for the qualifying session. George Russell still in the pit lane, keeping those tyres nice and warm. They're really trying to bank on 1 lap here. They're not trying to push for 2 laps like maybe the other teams are. I do wonder also, are we going to get some overtakes in the pit lane and exit?
I mean, I wouldn't put it past anybody overtaking in the pit lane. I think there's a chance that Ocon or somebody might slow everybody down just to, make sure that they do not get those 2 laps in. But I think actually Ocon might be quite dangerous for a top 3 here. I mean, looking at where he is, and if the track has improved, he's P4 at the moment.
Indeed.
And I do not think he needs that big of an improvement to be able to get Piastri or Albon. But at the same time, I don't really see how big those gaps are at the moment.
Yeah, it will be difficult, and we'll see. We'll see what the gaps are going to be once. If I say that, once Oscar and Ocon has completed that outlap, then we will get that graphic just to double check, because unfortunately I can't see any data, and I know that you guys can't either. So yeah, it's very frustrating. I do apologise for no data. We've still got a feed so we can talk you through the session, as we now have 2 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock, as the cars are going up for their final runs, trying to prepare their laps a little bit, but they're all going to be slightly bunched up. Oh my word, George Russell is still not out. Do they realise that the session has started? Or do they just not think that they can improve? I don't know what's going on there. Maybe there's an issue that we don't know about. Esteban Ocon will start this lap right here.
That does not look quick. I think maybe Mercedes has called this perfectly. There might not be, lap time enough for improvements.
Fair enough.
But Russell is out for his last lap. He's 4/10 off. He did make a mistake. But I wonder, is that really enough?
I don't know. I mean, they've really left it
Oh,
late.
Lando is improving.
Lando's improving, so maybe there is signs of a benefit of going out. George Russell is basically going to have to do a flat-out outlap if they want to really be comfortable in setting one final run. Lando Norris looking to try and defend their current pole position. They'll be able to defend it from Alex Albon, but will they be able to defend it from their teammate? No, well, yeah, because their teammate is not improving in the first sector. Neither is Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc currently P6. They want to try and get a little bit further ahead to then be competing with the McLarens. But right now, if they're not improving, they're not even going to be getting ahead of Alex Albon, who is half a second away from Lando Norris' current time. Would there be improvements for Piastri and Leclerc later in the lap if Lando is able to improve as much as he is?
Yeah, I mean, for the last lap, there's definitely improvement for everybody. Piastri's on the quite howler of a lap, pretty bad, actually. I think Leclerc is on a pretty bad lap, too. Lando does improve. But I assume he's going to give it another lap, no?
I think he will probably just do that for the sake of it, but also maybe just not worry about crashing the car as Oscar Piastri is almost off and almost ended it all. Will that be a yellow flag, and that will force maybe Leclerc to back off immediately as he can see the flashing lights? That might be it, but Oscar Piastri will be in P3. That will be their qualifying done. Liam Lawson is improving to try and find a bit more time. Lando Norris earlier on didn't find that much time in their lap, enough to improve, and they should be able to get pole. Liam Lawson not going to be able to improve according to Lando Norris, but maybe position wise can they jump ahead of their teammate Yuki Tsunoda, who's found a bit more time for themselves. Liam Lawson across the line, and it's going to be a P2! A P2! Possibly! Is it going to happen? They will out-qualify Oscar Piastri. They might out-qualify their teammate. Could we see Yuki Tsunoda get to P2 instead? Absolutely incredible stuff. Lando Norris is not going to be contested, but here we go. Esteban Ocon is not going to... They are going to improve. That's P3 right there. Oscar Piastri down to P6 after all of that. Lando Norris is going to continue to defend their pole position as they do improve in the end. 7/10. That's amazing.
What a lap from Lando Norris, putting in 7/10. But I gotta say, Liam Lawson and Tsunoda have really cooked this weekend. RB are looking amazing, but Russell goes up to P2.
Absolutely incredible. Here comes Charles Leclerc, who doesn't get any further than ahead of Alex Albon. Alex Albon is going to be furious now. P2 down to P7 with maybe a chance of not starting this race. But it's a British front row as Lando Norris and George Russell line it up on the front row. Yuki Tsunoda, Esteban Ocon and Liam Lawson though, P3, 4 and 5. It looked like they were going to be on the front row, each one of them for a few moments. But Tsunoda, what a lap right there. They've done a phenomenal job.
Piastri will not be happy with that one being P8. We all know that there was more potential there. But he just, ruined everything in turn one for himself, making life a lot more difficult for himself later today. But what a qualifying. You have a RB in P3 while you have the main... cars of the Red Bull family out in Q2.
Absolutely incredible. If that's not a statement to say, I want that top seat, then I don't know what is. That was absolutely awesome from Yuki Tsunoda. They have gone and taken that. Do they line up on the grid, it looks like? They're lining up on the grid. Oh! Maybe he's not going to keep that P3, if that's going to be a grid place penalty. Oh dear. Yuki Tsunoda not really sure what was going on. I think he thought that they were going to line up on the grid, but they didn't. He's cut across the pit lane entry, almost missing it completely, but that might be all of a sudden their top three. Very, very quickly gone. And maybe Esteban Ocon would start in P3. That's an interesting one. We'll try and look out for that, but I think we won't get confirmation until later on. That is Lando Norris on pole position, followed by George Russell, Yuki Tsunoda, Esteban Ocon, Liam Lawson. I believe it was then Leclerc, although I may be mistaken. Say again?
Exactly, that's why I said that. No, it was...
Piastri.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So, Piastri and Leclerc were close together, then Alex Albon, then of course we saw Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso at the back of the qualifying session. Wow, what a session we've just had, and it's still not over because Yuki Tsunoda has just crossed the pit lane entry. I think he's happy, but he also realises what he's just done, and he's not really sure what to feel. He's celebrating with his team, super happy with the position. Whether he'll keep it or not, we'll find out a little bit later on. But that is qualifying done. Thank you very much, everybody. Sorry for the technical difficulties that we have had. Thank you very much, Peanuts, for joining us. It's been a pleasure. And we will see you next time for the next race. We're not going to do the watch along for the race itself, but I hope you can enjoy the race for sure. Peanuts, who is going to be winning today?
I mean, looking at the grid, it's quite spicy, and you don't really should have a chance of, getting that win. But I think it should be Lando.
Yeah, should be Lando Norris, says Peanuts. I think Lando definitely will be able to do it. George Russell should be able to get P2. Who will get that P3? I want to say Oscar would have the ability to get through, but Esteban Ocon, he's benefited from the rain in the past and won the Hungarian Grand Prix. On that note, with the microphone in the background, I think that's a good time to end the stream. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure, and bye-bye.
Oh shit, I paused.